Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and we're back with an 8 o'clock show. I was just thinking there, as I was fashionably late as normal, I thought, bloody hell, when was the last time we did an 8 o'clock show? The life and soul of this United Stand community has always been the 8 o'clock shows every night, and we've not done one because of the World Cup in ages or last night's watch along. So good to be back, although it won't be back tomorrow or Saturday because of the World Cup again. But we're getting back to the point where we can start doing 8 o'clock shows, so it's good. Hope we're all doing very, very well. Some big news to talk about actually. PSG, I think it's their chairman, openly talking about wanting to sign Marcus Rashford. Now, remember, it was Marcus Rashford's agent who was reported to go over to Paris back in April to discuss a move, and now we've got the Paris Saint-Germain chairman openly talking about wanting to sign Marcus Rashford. So we'll talk about that. Also, a bit of an update from Fabrizio Romano, although I can't find where it's coming from. I definitely didn't dream it because I've not slept today, about the price that PSV would likely take. And there's also a story from Rob Dawson about Manchester United going for the Switzerland goalkeeper Sommer on a free deal in the summer. Now, some naive idiots have reported this as meaning we're going to get rid of De Gea. I mean, I do think that there should be a qualification on level of football knowledge, really, because if you're interpreting Sommer as David De Gea being let go, football's not for you, really. But we'll discuss that as well. Also, a little bit about Memphis as well, and a few other bits, and obviously get into your comments, which is what the 8 o'clock show is all about. But before we get into all of that, Christmas is coming. Their hair may be getting bigger. We're sponsored by Manscaped, and that's what I'm going to talk about for the next minute or so. Scan the QR code with Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free delivery worldwide. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger this summer. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Lawnmower 4.0. You know what Manscaped is. It's precision engineering for your family jewels. Yes, that's what it's all about, Manscaped. You get a light for a more precise shave. It's waterproof, adjustable lengths there. 4,000 RPM engine in it, electromagnetic induction charging. It really has got a good feel to it because it's a quality product that you can trust with what the area that matters. As I say, trim the grass to make the yard look bigger and treat yourself and trim yourself this Christmas time, or get it as a gift for somebody. 20% off and free worldwide shipping. You can also get the performance package where you get the Lawnmower 4.0, a travel bag with ball deodorant, all sorts of stuff, and the Weed Whacker, which is fantastic for nasal hair, and if you're really old, ear hair, clean it in between. But no, they are really fantastic products. I've been using them for quite a while, as you know. There's no point in promoting something if you're not going to actually bloody use it. So I do use it. I'm very pleased with it, and you can get yours as well. Free delivery worldwide, 20% off. Links in the description. You can use the code UnitedStand, all one word, but if you scan that QR code next to me with your phone, it will take you directly through to the website, and you can have one of these in your hand this Christmas instead of something else. Come on, check it out, Manscaped. Links in the description. Big shout out to them. Always like to do a Manscaped integration as well. So missed the 8 o'clock shows and missed doing the Manscapes as well. So brilliant. And to be honest, I have missed doing the Manscapes because I've been so busy with the World Cup. I've let it go a little bit. So it's time for a trim myself. I've played the game. Good. Okay, let's get straight into what we want to talk about. Big shout out to Manscaped. So let's talk about where this is coming from. These are direct quotes from the PSG president. So, the very, very top of the organisation. On signing Marcus Rashford, he said maybe summer, why not? But today, if he's a free agent, we can talk to him directly, but we're not going to talk to him now. Let him focus on the World Cup, and after, hopefully in January, we will talk to him. To have Rashford for free, every club would run after him, definitely. There is no hiding it. We spoke before on the interest, but at the moment, it was not a good moment for both sides. So, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because that is an open declaration that they would like to take Marcus Rashford to PSG. And I think in the summer, there's a lot of you watching who would have said, take him, you can have him. I don't think many people would say that now. You might surprise me and say that you would. But technically, the president there is saying that we'll talk to him in January because he's a free agent. He technically is a free agent in January if we don't do the +1. So Marcus Rashford can leave for free in the summer, just like Delot, Luke Shaw, Fred, and somebody else. But we've got to do the +1 because then they've got a year and a half left on their contract. So Man United do this a lot. They give someone a contract, then there's an option of an additional year at the end. So Rashford is out of contract in the summer. That's never going to happen because we'll do the +1. But if we didn't do it, then PSG could talk to him in January because if you're a free agent in the summer, you can talk to clubs outside of the league you're playing in. That's not going to happen. PSG are not going to get the foot in the door here because we will extend his contract by a year. In fact, we'll extend his contract by a lot more than that because you know what? There is absolutely no chance that Marcus Rashford is leaving Manchester United to PSG. There's none. It's not going to happen. Man United will give him the contract that he wants. Now, that in itself is a debate point. Whether we should be giving Rashford 350 grand a week, whatever we're going to give him, I think it's a lot of money. But you know Man United will do it because we've been doing this for years. And if you're going to give Phil Jones and Alexis Sanchez and everybody else ridiculous money, then Rashford's probably more deserving of ridiculous money than any of them. The problem is giving out ridiculous money to everybody. But United will do it and Rashford will sign it because I'm telling you now, Marcus Rashford's not going to leave Manchester United to go to PSG. It's a step down. That league is not the best league in the world. And yes, you can go and earn a lot of money at PSG, but come on, you're not going to leave the Premier League to go and play for PSG. And I'm not just saying that because it's Marcus Rashford who loves Manchester United. Saka's not going to leave Arsenal to go to PSG. It's not going to happen. Bellingham's not going to leave Dortmund to go to PSG. They're just not going to do it because as much as PSG can pay them a lot of money, they're just not going to go there because the Premier League's better and that's where they want to play, or La Liga. They're not going to go to PSG. So George Holiday says it's a better team. It's a shitter league. I'm telling you now. Listen up. I've played the game. He's not going to go to PSG. So whilst I find, number 7 United, thanks for the super chat. He says sell to PSG, not the high calibre enough for us to win Premier League titles. Well, look, some people might say Pete says get rid of him as well. Would you let him go if we got Gakpo and Felix? Love the content, says Jacob. I will answer that question. Would I let him go? But give me a minute. He's not going to go. And it's very interesting that the president of PSG is basically saying we want to sign you, Marcus. That's quite... It's not unprecedented, but it's quite unique when a president of a football club says, we want to buy Marcus Rashford. We've seen it in the past with Real Madrid. They've done it to our players in the past with Beckham and Ronaldo. There's been public statements of wanting to buy them, and it does happen sometimes. But, it's quite unusual for it to happen with a United player in the last few years because we've not been very good. So to have a player that PSG publicly want to sign is very interesting. But he ain't going to go. Not going to go. It used to happen with Inter Milan with like Ryan Giggs and Juventus with Roy Keane. They were never going to go, really. And Marcus Rashford's not going to go for the same reason. He's better off at Manchester United. Whether he's good enough to win us titles, whether he's good enough to start when we're good enough to win a titles, well, that's up for debate. But he ain't going to leave Man United because although United will probably give him the contract that he wants because we're desperate for him not to leave, I actually think Marcus Rashford needs Man United just as much, if not more. I think Rashford's desperate not to leave United. And I'm sure he's got good people around him who are going to make out that they might go to PSG so United cough up what they want. But, deep down, I think Rashford wouldn't leave Man United anyway. I think he's desperate to stay here. And I think that's the interesting thing. I think Rashford has got the power over United to get whatever deal he wants. But deep down, I don't think Rashford wants to go anywhere. Certainly not PSG. So I don't think he's going anywhere. He wouldn't go anywhere and he wouldn't go to PSG. I think it's a negotiating tactic, which is why his agent went over there, was it back in April? I think that was done very publicly so that the club knew about it. And I think this is basically all about getting Rashford the deal he wants at United. And, it benefits Rashford that the president's talking about wanting him because it's just another reason to say, I want this massive contract or I'm going to run it down and go to PSG. But deep down, I don't think he would want to leave Man United at all for various reasons. The Premier League's the best place for him. He's English. He's from the youth setup. He's from Manchester. Ten Hag looks like he's getting the best out of him. There's no way Rashford would leave Manchester United for all of those reasons and more. Would you let him go if we got Gakpo and Felix? Was the question from Jacob. Thanks for the super chats, by the way. I'm not going to say it just to be controversial. The ultimate opportunist says he's just a pace merchant anyway. There's definitely still a lot of work to do with Rashford. Look, he can score goals and that's not easy, but there's still a lot to his game that needs work. But from where he was 6 months ago to where he is now, he's sort of getting back to where he was 2 years ago. And it's a shame that 2 years ago it just all fell apart with injury and everything else because I think there was a lot of work to do with him 2 years ago when he was playing well. It's a bit like, if you're into Star Wars, it's a bit like, a Jedi who's not completed his training. he was on the way to completing his training. Then he got all this injury and all this negativity that was around Rashford, and it all started to go wrong. And now it feels like he's back doing the training again. So where Rashford will be in a year is where I will make my mind up about him. So I wouldn't be looking to sell him at the moment, because I think he's on a journey that he should have been on 2 years ago. And through no fault of his own, injury, a lot of it, Solskjaer, it never got completed. And I think under Ten Hag, he will get the chance to complete his journey. Now, he may not be able to complete it. Maybe he won't become the player who can get his head up and play a final ball or put a good cross in or whatever it is that frustrates people. But his heading's better this year. He's finding his feet to finishing. We always know he could finish. So no, I wouldn't let Rashford go. I'd be looking to invest in him in a contract. I'd try and keep it reasonable, because the worst thing you could do is give him this super big contract for 5 years, because he's 25, and then he falls off again and you're stuck with a player that you can't get rid of. But I would give him a contract, and I'd like to give him another year, yeah. So I wouldn't let him go, no. Mark, Phil Jones to PSG, says Matt. If we could do that, I'd be very happy. And would you do a swap deal for Neymar, says Dejan? My instant reaction is yes, and then my instant reaction is no. Neymar is a fantastic player, but what's Neymar's motivation to come to Manchester United? Has he got the desire and work ethic to come to Manchester United and work hard? I mean, that would be my big question about Neymar. Do you think United under new ownership will give Rashford a big new contract? His game is still too one-dimensional to call him world-class, says Stephen. Well, I think they would give him a new contract, because Erik Ten Hag wants to give him a new contract, and Erik Ten Hag's the manager. So yes, I do. I think they would, yeah. Ben Millward said I'd sell him for the right price. Well, PSG quite clearly referenced the fact that they would want him for free, so I don't think there's a price involved in this. And let him go if the offer comes in. He's a politician and greedy for cash, says Matty. I think that's very unfair. And Rashford has got the high ground on this situation, unfortunately, says GI, which is what I was saying a few minutes ago. He has. I think the club feel like that Rashford's in control, but I tell you what, scratch the surface, Rashford's desperate to stay at Man United. 100%. But he has got the high ground, you're right. And Rashford's going nowhere. Nowhere. He doesn't want to leave Man United. Absolutely not. Not a chance. So no, I don't think anything will come of that, but you've got to acknowledge it, that it's very interesting when a president of PSG comes out and says it. So yeah, very interesting. Next story I wanted to talk to you about, maybe we can go back to that in a minute, get your super chats in, and we'll read some of your comments as well. No way would I take Neymar for Rashford. I'd take Rodrigo though, says Juan. And he needs the support of Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Bissaka, says Cam. Do a poll, says GI. So what would the poll be? Would you sell Rashford? I mean, I hope we get the answer I want on this. Keep it simple. Would you sell Rashford? Yes or no? I'm not talking about fees. Just would you let him go? Pete says he'd be lost at another club. I absolutely categorically would 100% predict he doesn't want to go anywhere. Nowhere. There's no club that Rashford wants to go to. There is no club that he wants to go to. He wouldn't want to go to Barcelona or Real Madrid either. It wouldn't suit him. So, Manchester United is the best place for him, and he knows that. Anyway, moving on. Interesting story from Rob Dawson in the ESPN today. You might have noticed over the last few weeks there's been this talk of United going for Sommer, who is the Switzerland goalkeeper. Don't judge him on that World Cup game. He's not a bad goalkeeper. He had a terrible night the other night, of course, against Portugal. But he's out of contract in the summer. Now, there was talk a couple of days ago that we were going to get him in January. Rob Dawson, ESPN, you'll know him. He's been on the United Stand and many other stations over the last years. Manchester United correspondent for the ESPN. Now, he said that Manchester United are interested in going for Sommer on a free transfer in the summer. So I think we've got to start to acknowledge that there's got to be something going on around Sommer, because there's a lot of stories around him. It's interesting because somebody messaged me this afternoon and said, there's a lot of people saying that this means that Sommer's going to come in and we're just going to let De Gea go and not give him a contract, because De Gea's like Rashford. He's got 1 year left on his deal as well. And I was like, well, who is it who's saying that we're getting rid of De Gea for Sommer then? And they were like, oh, there's quite a few people talking about it on social media. I was like, well, they need to go and learn about football. What the hell is that angle all about? We need a backup goalkeeper. That's what we need. That's what Sommer would be. A decent backup goalkeeper who can actually compete with David De Gea. That's what Sommer's going to be. He is not going to be, we're getting Sommer to replace David De Gea, because Sommer's not better than David De Gea. And they're a similar age as well. So there's absolutely no way I'm going to sit here tonight and say, I mean, I could have done a thumbnail. The end, ? De Gea. De Gea on his way out, and people would have been like, what's Goldbridge talking about? And I would have been talking complete and utter shit, which I sometimes do, but I'm not going to start spinning a yarn that's not true. Sommer coming into Manchester United is not a hint that David De Gea is going to go. It's not even a potential that David De Gea is going to go. If anything, and if you realise and think about it, Sommer coming to Manchester United actually makes it more likely that David De Gea will get a new contract and stay, and more likely that he's going to be here for the next few years. So I actually would welcome Sommer. I think if you buy Robert Sanchez from Brighton, then, you know, potentially there, I think that could be the end of David De Gea, because you're bringing in a proven Premier League goalkeeper who's a lot younger, whose distribution's fantastic, who's very good in the air, he's a very good shot stopper. You go and buy Sanchez from Brighton, and I'd sit here and go, this could be the beginning of the end of David De Gea. But if you go and bring Sommer in, I'm like, we're going to give De Gea a new contract, which is what I want anyway. Now, Sommer could come into the club and compete with David De Gea and maybe bench David De Gea, but ultimately he'd be that's what United would say to him. Look, you know, there is an opportunity to fight with him. Two experienced goalkeepers. Let's see who wins. But obviously De Gea's in possession of the shirt, and if he drops off, you can have the spot. But that's what that's all about. Dubravka's not worked out. Dean Henderson doesn't want to come back apparently, and I don't think United really want him back. So Sommer would come in as the senior second goalkeeper, which Manchester United clearly want, and also be somebody that if David De Gea gets injured or starts playing badly, you could actually use him. And we've not had that scenario since we had Romero under De Gea, where you've got a very good goalkeeper underneath him. So I think that's what that's all about. The only reason Rashford deserves a new contract is so we can sell him next summer. Probably the only opinion Ricky has I agree with. Don't see anything in Rashford at all, says Sean Turner. Of course, yeah, Ricky's not a big fan of Rashford, I must state. Hi, Mark. I would sell him, but never let him go for free, says Neuer. So, interestingly, would you sell Rashford? 37% of you are like me. No, sorry. 37% are not like me. They would, but 63% of you are like me and you wouldn't. So, there you go. 63% wouldn't sell Rashford and 37% would. Jack says, do you believe Sancho is a flop? People call Pepe a flop at Arsenal, but if you compare their records after 50 games, Pepe has done better. I don't think that Sancho's a flop yet, because I still feel it's a bit early. I know some people will say, well, people were saying Pepe was a flop before that, but let's not forget that it's been a very stop-start to Sancho's career, and therefore I'm not ready to sort of say that that he's a flop. I would agree that he's got to do something in the next 6 months. You know, I do agree with that, but I'm certainly not giving up on Jadon Sancho at the moment, to be honest with you. Just on Sommer as well, he's actually older than David De Gea. He's 33. I was just having a look there. So yeah, we aren't signing David De Gea. We aren't signing Sommer to sell David De Gea, and anyone who thinks that really needs to do some research. I know some people just think it, and you know, I'm not saying they don't understand football, but in a way, I'm like, how would you go from United? And let me just spell this out. So if United sign Sommer from Mönchengladbach on a free in the summer at 33 years of age, how would you go from signing Sommer from Mönchengladbach at 33 on a free to that means we're selling David De Gea? You don't sell David De Gea and get somebody who's free. You let David De Gea go and you get Robert Sanchez or someone like that. Sommer's coming in as a second goalkeeper to compete with David De Gea on a free, and it's good business. That is good business. It's like what we did with Romero. Sommer at 33 on a free as the second goalkeeper is a brilliant bit of business. Absolutely brilliant bit of business, because he's free, he's experienced, and he can compete with De Gea, but ultimately probably will be the backup goalkeeper. And that's exactly what we want. We want a goalkeeper that's really good as a backup. And that's what we had with Romero. We don't want what we had with Henderson, where he's constantly gobbing off about how we should be the first team goalkeeper and it's a disgrace that he's not. We want somebody that wants to come in, compete, and I think Sommer would work quite well. I don't know whether we'll get him. It doesn't mean that we won't go and get someone like Robert Sanchez, but no, I'd be quite happy with that. Kahindi, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the super chat there. And Bruno says, free keeper, why? Because we need a backup goalkeeper, mate. And if we can get a decent backup goalkeeper for free, why wouldn't we do it? Romero was free. I think he was. Saw your France preview and I must say it was very impressive in my opinion, says Glenn. Thank you very much. You can check out my England versus France preview on That's Football. I enjoyed it as well. Hi Mark, he's my brother-in-law and just want to hear your opinion. Cheers mate, says Red Star. I don't know what you're talking about there, and it got retracted, so I don't know what that was all about. We need to cash in on Henderson, says Leo J. I think we'll get some money for Henderson in the summer. The only way back for Dean Henderson is if Ten Hag says, I've seen enough of him at Forest, he's going to be my new goalkeeper, and David De Gea, you're going to get sold. But that would be a massive decision. I think there's a lot of fans at United who don't rate Henderson, and there's a lot of fans at United who love De Gea. So if you got rid of De Gea for Henderson, and I think he's burnt his bridges as well. And also, his distribution this season has been pretty crap because Forest like to hit long balls. So I don't think he's shown anything really that other than he's a decent shot stopper. So I don't see a way back for Henderson. Would you take Ramos after his incredible performance against Switzerland? Also, I love watching your videos. Man United on top, says Mills. Well, I spoke about this yesterday, Mills. And I'm not going to insult your intelligence by saying that there's a chance that we can sign Ramos from Benfica. He has a release clause of £103 million, and there's no way Man United are going to pay that. So no, we won't be buying him. Brian has been a member for 7 months. He says, a bit off topic, but if teams like Real Madrid are willing to pay £72 million for a 16-year-old, do you think that would drive up the price of JF? João Felix. No. No, I think everything is relative. There was a lot of competition for this 16-year-old Endrick of Real Madrid. He won't join Real Madrid until the summer of 2024, so 18 months, and they paid 60 million plus 12 in add-ons. It's an expensive place, isn't it, the world? And this is why United need to get better at scouting. I'll take Romero back over Henderson, says Tumbleweed. We never should have let Romero go. Apparently, Rashford has a contract offer from United of 300k a week, but hasn't signed it. United have put an 80 million price on his head, says Tom Evans. I don't think he should be on 300k a week. I don't think David De Gea should be on 350. I don't think Sancho should be on 300k a week. I think we overpay. I don't think Harry Maguire should be on 200 grand a week. I don't think Luke Shaw should be on 175 grand a week. We overpay, and it's not I don't blame Rashford for saying I want 400 grand a week or whatever. But United need to start sorting this problem out, because when our revenues are £500 million a year and £350 million of it have been spent on wages, that's a big problem. Like, we have got to lower that wage bill. I don't think Rashford's worth 300k a week, but I think they're going to have to pay it, because if they don't, he'll run his contract down and go for free. But United need to be run a lot better. And, apparently Anthony's on 200 grand a week. He was on about 20 grand a week at Ajax. I don't know how you go from getting a player who's on... I don't know how you give somebody 10 times their wage to come to Man United. It's like, it should be the other way round. Liverpool seem to have players on very good wages. And, we need to be run a lot better. Of course we do. Overpaying the market and overpaying wages. It's sad, says Brain. I don't know why we do it. I don't know why we do it. Even looking at Harry Maguire, he's playing for Leicester. Leicester City. He can't have been on... Harry Maguire at Leicester can't have been on any more than 50 grand a week, even if he was on that. And United go, there's £80 million for Leicester. They're laughing to the bank. They think it's Christmas. And then they go to Harry Maguire, there's 200k a week for a 6-year deal. I mean, Harry Maguire's contract is 6 years long. Just one of the weirdest contracts we've ever handed out. And I'm not taking a pop at Maguire here. I mean, his agent deserves a medal. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But that deal, and it's from top to bottom, is stunningly crap. Like, £80 million to Leicester for a £50 million player. 200 grand a week on a 6-year deal for a player that probably should have been about 120. But you ask yourself why. You've not just bought Koulibaly, you've not bought Sergio Ramos, you bought a Leicester centre-back. Why? And nobody else wanted him. So why did we do it? And again, I'm not talking about Harry Maguire, because God knows what we paid Wan-Bissaka, God knows what we're paying Sancho, and David De Gea's contract was ridiculous. I'm not having a pop at the players. Their agents have done a fantastic job. I bet they get a good drink off their bloody players for doing what they do. But, the Glazers are hopefully going out the door soon. But never forget the complete and utter incompetence of the last 10 years on the contracts we've handed out. I mean, Phil Jones is the best of the lot. He spends most of the last 3 years injured, and then we give him a 5-year deal on 80 grand a week, and he spends most of the next 5 years injured. I mean, who's giving these things out? Crazy. It's because we're a circus and clowns run it, it's tumbleweed. And why we're not speaking about Gonzalo Ramirez joining United, it's Kahindi, because we're not thick. Basically, he's got a £103 million release clause, and we're not going to sign him. But look, this is one of the big reasons why we need to get new owners in, because new owners, whether they're investors or not, will surely come in and want to run the club better. And one of the biggest contradictions of the Glazer reign is they're so obsessed with keeping the debt and taking their dividends, and yet they could be I mean, it shows. You know what it does? It shows you how little the Glazers care about this football club. That as long as they're taking their 25, as long as there's money for their 25 million pound dividends a year, they don't really care how the club's run. They don't care what wages have gone out. They've got they're the worst kind of owners, because they're not even tight. They're not tight owners. People think the Glazers are tight. They're not tight. All they're bothered about is having an asset that they didn't even buy, because it's all on debt, that they can take money out of each year. That's the bottom line with the Glazers. People confuse the Glazers with being tight. They're not. If they were, we'd be a better run club. But as long as they can take the 25 million out each year, that's all they're bothered about. And as long as the debt's serviced, that's all they're bothered about. Because if they were tight, they'd say, well, we're not giving anyone more than 200 grand a week, because that's more profit that we can take out. They weren't even bothered about that. Oh, we're not overpaying for Anthony. We're not doing that. We don't even care. As long as we've got our dividends, that's all they care about. Under new owners, how do you start to reduce the wage bill when new signings will surely want to get the same pay as the current squad, says Stephen? Very difficult. Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. I mean, if I was... Well, I suppose the only thing I can do is an example. If I was coming into the club as the new owner, and I bought it for $6 billion, and I'm going to build a new stadium, and I want it to be the best team in the world, I sit down with Ten Hag and I say, right, I take it you've got 4 or 5 players here on stupid money that you don't want. And he'll go, yeah, that, and that. Okay, right. Get me the agent. Okay, agent of said players comes in. Right. Go and find yourself a club. You're finished. Well, he doesn't want to find himself a club. Right, okay, he was training with the youth then. It's just not part of this football club anymore. So his career is going to sit still for 2 years. I notice he likes playing international football. We ain't going to do that anymore, is he? Now find a fucking club. You find him a club, and you find a club that's going to pay his bloody wages, because we don't want him here. And you get him out. You get him out. You might have to take a massive loss on the transfer fee, but you get them out. And that's just part of the losses that you're going to have to take when you take over. Then what I do is I start saying to my scouts, who does Ten Hag want? Right, okay, Eric, I'll try and get you them, but if they come in and say they want 300 grand a week, I'm going to sit them down and I'm going to tell them this. I'm going to say, look, that is not Man United anymore. I know all you agents, and I know you think we're a fucking circus. That's not what Man United are anymore. We ain't paying 300 grand a week for anybody. We're paying 200 grand a week. And if they want to come here, they'll come here. And if they don't, fuck off and play for Chelsea. Go and play for Newcastle, because that's not us anymore. And Eric's probably going to get a bit angry and say, but look, in the long term, we're going to clear all this shit. We're going to get rid of all this. We'll have a few legacy players. I know we've still got Sancho and De Gea and Rashford. That's not their fault, and it's not your fault, and it's not my fault. But we can't do it anymore. We can't keep paying these stupid bloody wages. We get players in that want to play here, and we get that wage bill down. And in 5 years' time, all those other players who are on big money will be gone, and we'll have the wage bill down. And that's what you do. But it won't be easy. You've got to take a few hits. Mark Goldbridge, why is Phil Jones still at the club asking for the other mods? Says Gabriel. God knows. I don't even know what Phil Jones does. On the Adams show, the new guest said, Welbeck would be goodbye. What do you think, says Darren? I don't think it's the new guest. I mean, it might have been Nuruddin, but I know that Ricky would like Welbeck. Would I like Welbeck back at Man United? Look, I love Ricky, he's brilliant, but the only way I would take Welbeck back at Man United is if it was a free transfer for 6 months. Wouldn't pay any money for him, because why pay money for Welbeck when there's better players out there? Brighton would probably want... I mean, let's have a look. Let's have a look at Danny Welbeck, right? So Danny Welbeck. And I like Danny Welbeck, you know. I half think we should never have let him go in the first place. I don't think he was brilliant, but I think he had qualities. So Danny Welbeck, he is now 32. God, no. And his contract is 18 months. So Brighton, I knock on the door of Brighton, and I say to them, look, we'd like to bring Danny Welbeck back to Man United. Ricky loves him, and we'd like him to be our bench striker for 6 months until the summer when we're going to buy Osman. Can we have him for free? No, we want 30 million. Cheerio. That's why I wouldn't get Danny Welbeck, because they'd want 20, 30 million. Well, I can probably get GAKPO for double that, who's a young striker and better. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind Welbeck on a free to do a job until... I mean, Danny Welbeck on a free in January to do a job until the summer would be great. But Danny Welbeck's a first-team footballer for Brighton, under contract. Never going to happen. And I'm not paying money for him. Casemiro came in at a similar wages to some of the other Deadwood and way better, says Desmond. You know what, Desmond? You make a good point. Like, there are certain players out there that you would pay 300 grand a week for. I would pay 300 grand a week for Casemiro. I would pay 300 grand a week for Varane, because you are getting players who have got World Cup winners' medals, okay, but they've got Champions League winners' medals. That you know, you get. Look at Casemiro; he's worth 300 grand a week. What he brings to that team, and Varane is as well. What you want is a ceiling of 300 grand a week in your wage bill. You want most of your squad to be around 100, 150 grand a week. You want a handful to be around 200 grand a week. And then you want 2 or 3 on 300 grand a week. And everybody knows why. So when you get a contract renewal with a 100 and 150 grand a week player and they go, I want 300 grand a week, you slap them round the face with their contract and you say, Casemiro's on 300 grand a week. You're not even half the player he is, you cheeky twat. And you give him 150 grand a week. Or you say, go and find it. You know what, I'd laugh first. I'd say, all right, you want 300 grand a week, do you? Who the fuck's going to give you that other than me, you dopey twat? And this ain't that club anymore. You cheeky git. As if you're going to go and leave this fucking football club. Everton wouldn't sign you. And they certainly wouldn't give you 300 grand a week. So sign the contract on there. You're a bench player. You're on 120 grand a week. Sign it and get out of my office. 300 grand a week. Who do you think you are? You know, and that's the sort of... You know what? There's got to be people with that mentality out there that can go and do a job for Manchester United. I'd bloody love to do it. I'd love to do it. I'd do it for free. I'd do it as a consultant for free. I would do the contract negotiations. I would sit there and quite happily laugh in their face and say, you want 200 grand a week? Tell your agent who sent you in here to go and get you 200 grand a week somewhere else and let me know the club that's doing it so I can ring them up and say, please do. You know, the wages we pay are hilarious. And how many times do we end up in a situation where we give somebody 100 grand a week or 150 grand a week and they're not good enough, and then in the summer we think we're going to sell them, but we can't sell them because nobody would give them 50 grand a week. And you get lumbered with them for years. It happened with Rojo. It's happened with Phil Jones. It's happened with Eric Bailly now. You know, Eric Bailly's on loan because nobody will buy him and pay what he's on. We give these stupid wages to players that then can't leave because nobody else would be ever stupid enough to give them that contract. We've got to get it down. Noah, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. And Ray's been a member for 41 months. A takeover won't be a loss. These players are not signed on their watch. Yes, exactly. I want 200 grand a week to just win no trophies, says Jesus. Well, look, you know, we've actually moved on to something here, but I just want to just give you an example of what I'm talking about. So if I read you this, this is the Liverpool wage bill, right? So, I mean, it might be inaccurate a little bit, but it's from a website that, you know, is pretty good on wage bills, right? So... yeah, okay, so, right. This is Liverpool's wage bill, right? Now, I'm just going to drop something in here, right? Manchester United's rumoured wages. Rashford should and will go. Bet me, Mark, says Ollie Roach. No, he won't. He won't go anywhere. So, David De Gea, 350 grand a week. Sancho rumoured to be on somewhere between 250 and 350 grand a week. Casemiro's on 290. I think Varane's on 290. Martial and Rashford are on about 220, I think. Maguire's on 200k a week. Trying to think if I've missed anybody else. I think Bruno's on about 200 grand a week now as well. Luke Shaw's on about 175. Trying to think who else. That's probably a bit. I think Anthony's on about 200 grand a week as well. So we've got loads of players on 200 grand a week. Basically, most of our football team is on about 200 grand a week. This is going to blow your minds, right? This is what Liverpool play. This is what Liverpool pay for players who have fought for the title for the last 3 or 4 years, won one of them, won a Champions League, one of the best teams in the world. This is what Liverpool are paying their players, right? You might want to take a sit down. Their best paid player is Mo Salah on 350 grand a week, which is fine because the Kevin De Bruyne's, the Casemiro's, they should be on that. Their next best player is Virgil van Dijk, who's on 220k a week, which means that's the same as what we pay Rashford and Martial and only 20 grand a week more than we pay Maguire. And also means that David De Gea, Jadon Sancho are on more than Virgil van Dijk, who is the second best player for Liverpool. Thiago's their third best player on 200 grand a week, which means he's Liverpool's third best player is paid the same as Harry Maguire and less than about 8 of our first team players. Trent Alexander-Arnold's on 180k a week, which is the same as Luke Shaw, and 20 grand a week less than Harry Maguire, and he's their fourth best paid player. And then you've got Jota and Firmino on 180 grand a week, and Fabinho on 180 grand a week. Alisson, their goalkeeper, is on 150 grand a week, which is 200 grand a week less than what we paid David De Gea. So, and that's Liverpool. That's Liverpool. So, riddle me this. Why are Liverpool, our biggest rival, able to win titles, challenge for titles, win Champions Leagues, play better football than us, and have a wage bill that is significantly less? They are still bringing players in, and yet we can't do it. We can't negotiate contracts without being literally bent over. It's embarrassing, and to be honest with you, it's something that should have been highlighted by these blue tick journalists a long time ago, because we spend so much time criticising players and managers when actually we've created a vacuum of empathy and can't be arsedness because players are basically retiring at United on this contract. They're set for life. I would let him go. He is a counter-attacking forward, not possession-based. He does well now because Erik ten Hag is playing counter-attack. I think Ari's gone back to the Rashford story there. Patrick says, do you genuinely think that Memphis Depay could come to Manchester United? Well, I do. I think he could come back to Manchester United. Yes. Do I want him to come back to Manchester United? No. And I do like Memphis Depay, and I want to make that very, very clear. I do like him. I think he's a good player, and I really wanted him to work out the first time. But you can't get Memphis Depay when Cody Gakpo and João Felix are available, because they are 5 years younger than him, and they are the future. And Man United need to build a future, and Memphis Depay is the past. And Memphis Depay will never be Cristiano Ronaldo, and I don't think he'll ever be Paul Pogba. But in recent years, we've brought players back and it's failed. There's a lesson there. Don't bring players back. And whether Memphis Depay has the same legacy as Ronaldo to bring back, of course not. But I don't think it's a good idea to bring people back. And if we brought Memphis Depay back, we'd be doing it because he's cheap. And is there a big queue for Memphis Depay? No. There will be for Gakpo and there will be for João Felix, and we need to be looking at those sort of deals. I look at what Ten Hag wanted, and he wanted Darwin Núñez. And although we didn't get him, at least he was looking for the right type of player. And that's what we need to do. What has led to all the inflation in wages of the players and transfer fees in our club? What do you feel is the root cause? Is harsh. Incompetence. Pure and utter incompetence. I've been talking about this for years. It's well known anyway. But in the industry, behind closed doors, in public, Man United are up for sale. Biggest club in the world. People are interested. That is what Man United is. Huge football club. Behind closed doors, in the transfer industry, which I'm party to some conversations through some contacts and people I've spoken to and learned, and you learn from over the years. Manchester United are an embarrassment and seen as a circus in the transfer market. And look, you can believe that or you can't, but the reality is that's what I've been told for a long time. That's what you read time and time again. We are not very good at transfers and everybody knows it. And because people, it's like knowing you've got a weakness, isn't it? It's like knowing your right back is rubbish and everyone targets your right back. Everyone knows United are rubbish at transfers, and that is why we struggle, because we haven't got a very good structure around transfers. And it's not just one individual. People think, oh, it's John Murtaugh or anything like that, or Ed Woodward or Richard Arnold. It's not. It's the whole way we do business. We're terrible at it. Which is why Crystal Palace took us for 50 million for Wan-Bissaka. It's why Leicester took us for 80 million for Maguire. It's why Sporting took us for 60 million for Bruno. It's why Ajax took us for 85 million for Anthony. You know, and these have been going on for years. So that's the problem with United. We're just terribly, terribly bad. It needs ripping down and rebuilding that whole structure, so that when the next transfer window happens, anyone who tries to take the piss are met by a completely different team who go, fuck off. You're not taking the piss. That player wants to come, and that's what we're going to pay. You either take it or we're going elsewhere. You know, and that's what we need to do. It's the way the clubs run. Exactly, Brain, it is. Mark, who would be your top priority signing if you were Erik ten Hag? Right now, João Felix. Yeah, if I was Erik ten Hag, my priority would be João Felix, because I think we've got enough to get to the summer and then buy a proper striker. And I would go for João Felix. I think he just gives us a lot of different things between now and the end of the season. I don't think we'll do that. I do like Cody Gakpo, and I think he's probably the right player to do. But if I was Erik ten Hag, João Felix would be the player I'd go for, because he's the better quality and he can do more than Cody Gakpo in more different positions. And he can play as a striker. He can do it. He can play as a false nine as well. But Martial will be the striker anyway. I think João Felix is really important, because who's the number 10 when Bruno's not playing? It's clearly not going to be Donny, isn't it? And also, a false nine makes sense for United. With Anthony and Rashford, it makes sense to drop in and have them running beyond. We've seen it with Harry Kane for England. But I that doesn't mean I don't want Gakpo. I think Gakpo would be very, very good for us. But I just think João Felix is available and would be a really good player for United. Salah had to earn that wage for 5 years of being the best in the world, and Robertson been the best left back for hours, and he's on 50k a week, says Nathan Allen. Yeah. I don't love saying what I'm about to say, but I absolutely respect the job that Liverpool have done. That team will run through brick walls for that club, and they know that they're not on sometimes half what worse players are on at United. Like, you know, some of those players are world class at Liverpool, and they'll know that there's a player at United who's won fuck all for 5 years on 100 grand a year more, £100 a week more than they are. And it doesn't impact on them, because their mentality is, I'm a Liverpool player. I want to win with this team, and I'll run through brick walls for it. Professionals. United's about money. We're a brand. And, how many players have signed for us because of money as well, by the way? I ain't naming any players here, because I just don't know. But how many players have come to Manchester United for the money? And how many players have gone to Liverpool for the money? Well, none of them, because they could have got better on money elsewhere, couldn't they? So is that not a lesson in itself? Sky and journalists said little about ownership until Super League, and then they turned against owners afraid lose their Premier League, says De Gea 10 United fan. Thanks for the super chats tonight, by the way. And Liverpool run so well, and City as well, says Brain Rot. Well, look, let me just do that. Somebody did say that. Can you tell me the Man City wages? Okay. I mean, look, again, I'm using the same website that I used for Liverpool. So De Bruyne is apparently on 400 grand a week. Erling Haaland's on 375 grand a week. And Jack Grealish is on 300 grand a week. So, I mean, Grealish on 300 grand a week is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So, look, Man City ain't great. John Stones is on 250 grand a week. I mean, hilarious. Phil Foden, 225 grand a week. Rodri's on 220 grand a week. So look, you know, they've got. I mean, but the thing about Man City is, I think they're overpaying for some of their players, but they've won the league how many times in the last 4 years? So they're not paying as bad as we are. I mean, I don't think Jack Grealish should be on 300 grand a week. I mean, I like Grealish, but he's not a 300 grand a week player. Fucking no, he's 200 grand a week, not 300 grand a week. But, you know, that's well done to his agent, well done to Grealish. John Stones, 250 grand a week, not a chance. No way, 200 grand a week, tops. But Ruben Diaz, 160 grand a week. I mean, how does Ruben Diaz sleep at night knowing that John Stones is on 90 grand a week more than him? Crazy. Bernardo Silva, 150 grand a week. How does he sleep at night knowing that Grealish is on double? Gundogan, 140 grand a week. But as silly as some of their wages are, and look, these you know, they might be not completely accurate, but as silly as some of those wages are, they have won trophies. Now, Arsenal, Jesus is their top earner on 265 grand a week. Their second top earner is Thomas Partey on 200 grand a week. Ben White's on 120 grand a week. Zinchenko's their third top earner on 150 grand a week. It says Saka's on 30 grand a week. That can't be right, but Arsenal's wage bill is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. They've only got 3 players on more than 150 grand a week. That's amazing, isn't it? Arsenal have only got 3 players on over 150 grand a week. Manchester United, I should have put Man United in before. Man United wages, here we go. Manchester United. So Arsenal have only got 3 players on over 150 grand a week. Man United have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. We've got 12 players on 150 grand a week or more. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on 200 grand a week or more. Anthony's on 200 grand a week. Rashford's on 200 grand a week. Martial's on 250. Bruno's on 240. Sancho is apparently on 350. I don't think that's right, but again, like, you know, it's just weird. And again, look, fair play to the players. Fair play to the players. It's not their fault. It's that, you know, it's not their agent's fault. It's the club fault. But how do you buy Jadon Sancho from Dortmund and increase his wage by tenfold? How do you buy Anthony from Ajax and increase his wage by tenfold? Nobody else wanted them. That's what stuns me. Nobody else wanted those players at that price. So why is their wage so big? I mean, it's not, you know, it doesn't make sense. We give Ajax £85 million for Anthony. No one else would pay that. Nobody was paying that. He's on 20 grand a week at Ajax. No one else is paying that. And then Anthony goes, I want 200 grand a week. And we go, you're getting 100 grand a week. Well, I'm not coming then. All right, stay at Ajax then. No one else is buying you. 20 grand a week. See you later. I don't understand how that works. I don't understand how it works that you go, there's £85 million for Ajax and we're going to give you 200 grand a week and your wage is going up by 10. Surely he would have signed a contract for 100. Weird. It doesn't make any sense to me. It does. There is an explanation because the agent says, I want 200 grand a week, otherwise we're not coming. But why do United not just say, well, right, that's fine, don't come? We're not paying £85 million to Ajax and then giving you a tenfold pay rise. But he's not the only one. We did it with bloody Sancho the year before. I don't believe Sancho's on 350 grand a week. That would be preposterous. Preposterous. I think he's on 250, which is still a lot, but I can't for the life of me. You know, if we've paid Sancho 350 grand a week and I was the Premier League, I'd be looking into that for money laundering. Like, you can't. On what planet do you pay him 350 grand a week? Then again, we did give Alexis Sanchez 450, so actually it probably makes sense. Anyway, look, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this is one of the big things for me. We do need a new stadium or renovation of Old Trafford. We do need a lot of money spending on the squad. We need to kick some players out, but we definitely need to do something with that wage bill, because we pay the wages of a team that's a Premier League winner and a Champions League winner, and we struggle to get in the Champions League. So something's highly amiss. Highly amiss. Anyway, look, I enjoyed that tonight. It was a good show. They're desperate to please the fans, says Tom Evans. You know what? They need a lion in that bloody boardroom. They really do. Like, they need somebody who knows what they're on about as well. Like I said, I'd happily do it. I'm sure most of you could do it as well. I'd happily negotiate contracts, and I'd bloody love it, because I know what people are worth, as do you. I know what other clubs play, as do you. And you just say, no, I'm not paying it. Not paying it. You're not having that contract, so go and find yourself somewhere else. Not happening. Mark, as an American, the EPL pays very low. Jermaine Johnson, yeah, but we can't compare ourselves to that. We have to compare ourselves to other clubs, and our wage bill is a farce compared to Arsenal, Liverpool, and others. Thanks everyone for watching. We're back in the morning at 10 o'clock. I'm trying to think. I'm losing track of what day it is. I keep thinking today's Friday because it's an 8 o'clock show, and it's not. Tomorrow's Friday. So tomorrow we've got World Cup watch-alongs back at 3 and 7, which means we'll have a morning show at 10 and another show at 2. Okay, I've got my head around it. And then we've got another watch-along on Saturday for United against Betis at 5. In between 2 watch-alongs for the World Cup. Okay, it's been good to be back in the 8 o'clock show. Really, really enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. I enjoyed the show tonight. I know we went off on a tangent, but we went somewhere that was really interesting. So thanks for that. That's what I love about this show. If you want to be a member, click the members button. Don't forget to watch the quiz. A lot of you have watched it as members, but if you are a member and you haven't watched it, check it out on the homepage. The Man United quiz that we did in the studio with me, Beth, and Adam. You can play along with that. Big thank you to the members who support the channel. You can do that by clicking the join button. You get your badge next to your name, like De Gea 10 United fan, and you can play the quiz, which is out yesterday, but it's on the channel. There you go. Take care, everyone. Speak to you all in a bit. Don't forget Manscaped as well. Delivered to your door, 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Links in the description, or scan it with your photo camera. I had a real urge to go down the hair then. That would be stupid.